we don't have competitive advantage in those production in our country. If you are in Asia, people are doing 8, 12 metric ton per hectare when they do rice cultivation. In Sierra Leone, you will struggle to even do 1.5 metric ton per hectare. So you're not going to have a competitive edge if you're growing rice. So I feel in order for us to grow agriculture generally, but in particular to attract young people, we have to turn to data. We have to look at sectors that are informed by the data and market trends around us. So the first point I'm going to make in terms of pointing out viable sectors is just to share with you a few data I actually just dug up in the last minute, right? The cassava sector globally, so this is cassava that we neglect so much, is worth about $237 billion by 2030. So it's projected to be worthy of 237 billion, not million, billion US dollars. So this includes all products coming from cassava, so gari, acheke, cassava flour, starch, and there are many countries across Africa that use gari as staple food, but also others where it's a close substitute. It's one of the easiest products we can grow here, albeit if we can also pivot towards processing and then harness the benefit that comes with the other byproducts of cassava. Potatoes that we neglect so much in this country for the longest time is worth $140 billion globally. That's the global size of the potato market. This includes sweet potato, orange flesh potato, but also the Irish potato. There are many countries across Europe and Asia where potato or a lot of things made from potato is actually the staple food. It is worth $140.5 billion. Maize, so corn. Corn is basically worth $29.9 billion. That's the size of the global market of corn. And this includes, East Africans who use a lot of corn as staple food, but also corn as feed for poultry and many other things you can use corn for. Honey is worth $8.5 billion. So honey goes into a lot of processing, but honey in itself now is proving to be medicinal. A lot of people are moving away from sugar to a more healthy sweetener substitute, which is honey. We can easily harvest honey in Sierra Leone. Cashew is about 6.7 billion. Spices, just spices generally, so pepper and other spices, is 22.8 billion. And poultry sector is basically $313 billion worth. That's the size of the global poultry market, $313 billion US dollars. And here's the interesting part. It is projected to grow by $493 billion by 2031. And this includes a lot of byproducts that will come from poultry. Poultry meat, the eggs, but even the eggs also can go into the production of mayonnaise. So basically poultry eggs and oil can give you mayonnaise. I just wanted to point out this fact to you and to just consolidate my premise that we have to turn towards constant research and data. Gone are those days where we say, okay, I'm a farmer, what do you do? Rice, just because everyone does rice. I think your decisions into the sectors you go into must be informed by accurate data on market trends and where everyone is going. If you look around you, there's a lot of things that we import, but a lot of things that we can export. There are many other value chains I may not have mentioned here, but I feel these are some of the value chains that hold huge potential both in country, but also internationally. But I particularly pinpointed them because we have very strong advantages to produce all of the things I mentioned here in Sierra Leone. Right? The key is look towards data, look towards market trend, and let that inform the sector that you venture into, as long as there's a possibility for you to produce them here in Sierra Leone. Thank you.
Thank you, Hamid. And I'll come to Mr. Yassi with pretty much the same question. From your experience, what do you think are the main value chain opportunities for the youth, and how can they tap into it?
Thank you very much, my dear youth. All of us, so we are old, but you are youth, because it's the way you think and the way we work. And the way we think creates opportunities for us within the value chains that we have. Hamid has started very well, has given us opportunities, spoken broadly about the opportunities that exist. And those opportunities, we can bring them home to our level as a youth. Whatever your interest is in, you find your interest in all the opportunities, the value chain opportunities that have been mentioned. Remember, the value chain starts from the soil to the fork, to the table, from the upstream to the downstream, from clearing the field to cleaning the plate and more or less disposing the end product. There are a lot of activities along the value chain that as young people you can also look at. If you take the cassava value chain, for example, there are so many things beyond the act of cultivating the crop itself, where the young people who do not want or lack the capacity to till the soil will find yourself. Some of them will require capital, many of them also require very few. They only require your thinking capacity to be on. So there are a lot of activities along value chains that we are also ignoring. So apart from the value that has been mentioned, those values, billions of dollars, for example, for the poultry industry that has been mentioned, includes a lot of values from each node of the value chain, from maize to animal feed alone. You have several activities along that value chain that are opportunities for all of us. So we should not look at the value chain as a commodity per se, but actions that start from somewhere, where someone is preparing the seed to a position where the food, the seed has become a food, on your table, to the level where there is disposition, when they are being now, it is waste. Even the waste is value. So there is value everywhere along a particular chain we call value chain, that I will ask us not to limit our thinking about value chain. Each time we talk about a value chain, don't limit ourselves along the particular crop or the commodity, but actions that happen along the trajectory that generate resources. And those resources are something that we can also make value out of. So that's why they call it value chain. It's a chain of events, a chain of activities, that are happening, and each one is generating a value. So as a young man, you ask yourself, which aspects of that chain can I take advantage of? Which aspects? If I am into IT, what can I do? Let me give you a small story for you to understand what I mean. There was a young man I met in Washington a couple of years ago who was from New Zealand, and he has become a global a billionaire. What was he doing? This young man had finished college. He was home. He had nothing to do, Then the mom will ask, Bob, could you get me some groceries, for the week? So Bob, that was a job. You just drive the mom's car, go to the supermarkets, buy the grocery, and come home. And then the mom was in the office with other colleagues. So they decided discussing, how do you get your groceries? Bob has been doing it for me. They asked Bob to buy me some groceries the next time. Then Bob started buying for the mother's workmate. Then the guy sat down and said, look, can't I generate value out of this? I have learned ICT in school. So ask Mom, why don't you ask your colleagues? I'll give them a menu of vegetables that they need, groceries that they need. They should select from. So I'll go to the supermarket, buy and supply to them. You know, then the guy started slowly, first buying for the mom, and then the mom's friend, for the mom's office. He just developed an app, you know, and the app became viral. People just selected. So of course, with this kind of spreading, all that Bob needed to do, first he started with their warehouse, their garage. You know, got a few guys with him, go to the supermarkets, get the groceries, vegetables, clean them, pack them the way the orders have come. And then we got some few motorbikes, you know, and the guys started distributing. Today, from New Zealand, it has grown to US, and it's a multi-billion investment. Something that started very little with a mom. You know, so when we talk of agricultural value chain, it's one of the biggest that you can find. But if you don't open your eyes and mind to what can happen or what is happening, or get a better understanding of what the value chain is, you know, we sit home and feel that we are far from it. Everything of it is very close to us. Even the disposition of it, disposal of the end product is a value. So there are a lot of actions along value chains with the values. These values are created, and I want you and I to become people who begin to think along these lines, along the values that are being created. What more can I add? What value can I add? What additional value can I create? What value is created elsewhere that in Sierra Leone or wherever I am, if I pick that value, I can expand it and add additional or make it easier in delivery, in logistics, in packaging, in whatever form, you know, or in the participation